Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, a game originally announced back in 2017 during the beginning of the Nintendo Switch era, has felt mostly like a fever dream. A collective group of announcements and trailers roaming the ether. Now here we are, almost a decade later, to talk about how actually playing the game feels, rather than speculating about what it could possibly be. After roughly an hour with Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, I finally see the glimpses of what makes this game special, far better than any trailer has attempted to show. Metroid, and more specifically the Prime series, revels in its quieter moments. My demo put Samus in a dense jungle teeming with alien flora that pulsated, reacted, and exploded when shot at. The glowing orange hues of bulbous pod plants and the deep purples of flowers I can't even begin to describe overcame the branches and ivy. Fury Green, the new jungle biome that we got to explore, didn't just feel like a background zone existing solely for the player to discover. It felt like an area that would exist whether I engaged with it or not. Bird-like creatures roaming the treetops and skies, smaller fauna skittering around, and an ecosystem that doesn't want to be disturbed by whatever Samus has going on. It's a location that puts its inhabitants first, as opposed to creating a theme park for Samus to tour. Fury Green's the host, and Samus is the parasite. Samus enters the zone and the vocal choir hymn blasts in my ears. It's a familiar and comforting sound that puts me right back into the Metroid headspace. As I began poking around every crevice looking for a way forward, or a new item to add to Samus's toolkit, I was met with plenty of aggressive enemies hellbent on eating my lunch. Metroid's controls feel responsive, like I'm a natural extension of Samus. I instinctively move my Joy-Con mouse over to the enemy and start blasting. I feel like Samus is canon and my mouse movements are one and the same. It feels slick when playing at 120 frames per second, and a little less responsive in quality mode where it becomes slightly sluggish during high-intensity fights. Massive hollowed-out tree trunks and thick vines envelop the space, constantly looking up at the flocks of alien birds. A small enemy goes unnoticed as I almost step directly into their trap. I quickly dodge out of the way of incoming attacks and their spiny needles, charge up a cannon and eviscerate them. It's a small moment, but Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is a collection of tiny interactions to build out a larger playspace. Continuing on my journey in Fury Green, I walk into a room filled with floating spiky orbs, a Metroid staple. I swiftly click my visor on and give them a scan, learning new proper nouns like sporangium of a gas spore. Scanning enemies and items is just as important in Prime 4 as it's always been. You'll not only learn how everything relates to one another, but you'll be given vital information on how to overcome the obstacles in front of you. Later in my preview, I came up against a wall made of solid amber, a classic roadblock but not one that couldn't be overcome. With the power of my visor, it indicated I would need some sort of explosive, which I instantly knew it would involve missiles. It's going to involve missiles. I turned around and began prodding different doors and avenues for a path forward. This is where the meat of Metroid Prime always hooks me in. While I didn't have most of the abilities to really pick over Fury Green with a fine-tooth comb, the exploration began to show itself. As I began to peel back the layers of this place, I noticed hidden platforms, stronger walls, and other barriers to entry. It wasn't anything revolutionary, but that's where the strength of Metroid has always shown the brightest. However, it still remains to be seen how any of these areas connect to one another and how intricate of a world has been woven by Retro Studios. Of course, the rest of the demo saw me trying out some of the new psychic power Samus gains access to, like the ability to shoot and control a charge shot that can be bent around corners, led through small openings to reach the backside of a door, or even used to chop 3 limbs off a boss at once. Smaller puzzles required me to move objects in small shards using my telekinesis to gain entry into new areas. This area felt much more like a tutorial zone than anything else. Plenty of tooltips on how to use newly acquired items and abilities. I helped a man named Miles McKenzie who becomes Samus's right-hand quippy man. Not particularly sold on him yet. I prefer the isolation of Metroid and the silent revelations that happen, but we'll see if this persists throughout the entirety of the game. I eventually made it to the boss encounter of my preview, a hulking plant-like boss named Carvex that extended a tentacle out. Jumping over its sweeping attacks and dashing to sidestep its slams, I shot away at the glowing portions of its tentacles, dodging small homing projectiles in the dance of death. As Carvex and I whirl around the room going shot for shot, I break down the armor protecting its tentacles and use my psychic charge shot to cut it clean off. However, much like a Hydra, when I cut down one, 2 grew back. Carvex upped the ante and now I'm dodging everything 2-fold and then 3-fold as things keep escalating. Barely scraping by, I beat Carvex and I take it down for good. My reward is psychic bombs that can be detonated from my morph ball. And suddenly, every Metroid game flashes before my eyes. Every neuron in my brain fires like it's the 4th of July. I try to recount anywhere I could have seen a use for these previously. I know there is one, but I cannot put my finger on where. I open up the map inside of my brain and begin to retrace the steps in my head, thinking of any place this could be useful. My aging brain cannot recall anything immediately, so I press forward to the end of the demo. On the subway home from my preview, I have that aha moment of the spot I was trying to recall. The mental map we etch into our brains to ensure we don't miss something is the beauty of Metroid. I'll be waiting to revisit that tree in Fury Green when Metroid Prime 4 Beyond launches on the Nintendo Switch and Switch 2 on December 4th, 2025. And for everything else, stick with restart.run.